at St. Michael's Cathedral, Zoomer Media founder and president Moses Neimer is getting an exclusive tour of the extensive restoration work that is being done here by none other than the Archbishop of Toronto himself, Thomas Cardinal Collins.
Tell me, Cardinal, how old is the church itself?
The church was consecrated in 1848, so it's been here. It's our oldest church. It's also one of our biggest churches too. It was way on the edge of Toronto when it was built, but it's now obviously right in the center of a lot of the activity. Directly under the high altar is the tomb of Michael Power, who is the heroic first bishop. He died at the age of 43, caring for the refugees who came here from Ireland because of the famine. He contracted typhoid from the people he was serving, and he died October 1st, 1847. It was originally be like this, not as, I don't think it's detailed and beautiful as this, but there were stars, a blue ceiling with stars. Very simply done, and now we're trying to be faithful to his vision. And there's a lot of decoration accumulated over the years. It's all been kind of taken away. We now have the clarity and the beauty.
Bring it back. And this window will now reemerge.
The window is going to be, it's the most beautiful thing in the cathedral.
Yes.
That window and the one at the other end were both given by Bishop Charbonnel in around 1855 from his own, he was a French aristocrat who somehow ended up here, and he gave his money to help build the church. And it is that window, when it's back in, it's out being repaired, is a masterpiece of stained glass, as is that one, which was hidden by the old organ for 100 and some years. So this is a vision of what we would eventually like to do. This is the cathedral here, and across from us we have the legendary St. Michael's Choir School. But unfortunately the building needs to be replaced. So what we would like to do is rebuild it across the street, and that will free up a couple of buildings there, and put a kind of a plaza and a center, St. Michael's Center, for community gatherings, for outreach to those who are in need, to things of that nature.
And tell me about other parts of this impressive work. You're reconstructing elements of the cathedral?
Yes, you can see in one side the old piece, and we just take model.
That's the old one?
Exactly. And we try to replicate in the next apex or pinnacles.
Well, they've done a wonderful job. It's taken a long time, but obviously it's coming together very nicely.
This is the floor that's going to be in the sanctuary. It's comprised of Connemara marble from Ireland, which sort of speaks to Bishop Power and the Loretto Sisters and all the Irish immigrants who helped build this. And in turn, we have some Celtic knots with Carrara marble, mixed in with some slate from Brazil. And this is a red marble from Cape Breton Island in Nova Scotia.
When we walked in, it was just like, wow, you know? And just if you take a look around here, it's just amazing.
What he's doing is doing the carvings for the cresting that goes on most of the elements in the exterior portion of the interior, but the outside walls of the church. First, we take it from our CAD version. Some of the items we 3D mold on our 3D copier in order to be able to get the 3D dimensions of it. And then we go through approvals with the architect. So any element could take up to a month or two to come to fruition.
Absolutely stunning. Quite exquisite. Beautiful craftsmanship, beautiful workers. Absolutely. I can hardly wait to see it when it's finished.
This is a working maquette, a full-size maquette of the one petal of the north rose window. And you can just see some light coming through the north, but the bottom petal. This is a photo representation of that petal repeated to get an idea of the weaving of the background. And these intersecting lines combined create a rose petal shape. And for the south window, we've inverted the geometry at each point, and those what became rose windows for the Marian window become thorns for the Sacred Heart of Jesus window, the south window. All the glass that we're using in here is all mouth-blown antique glass. So every piece of glass started out as a gather of molten glass in a sphere, blown out further, stretched out into a tube, and then flattened. In this case, it's all German and French glass. The colored glass industry is such a specific trade that there are only a few companies left in the world making colored sheet glass, and there's never been in Canada a company that made colored sheet glass as a product.
lovely, lovely, lovely. I'm quite pleased of the artistry that has done in this building. Beautiful.
So the commission that I brought in to complete is the carving and installation of 2 sets of double doors in bronze, gold-gilded bronze doors for the north transept here and the south transept across the way. And the vertical panels are figures looking in at the story, and those are figures today, Catholics, saints and martyrs from the last 100 years.
Just tell me a little of the technique. Do you begin with a single slab and then etch the dimension?
I pour a slab of hydrostone, which is plaster mixed with marble dust to make it nice and hard. I graph it, I sketch in the basic design, and then I just carve straight down. They make a rubber mold of the piece. Wax is poured into that rubber mold. Ceramic is poured around it, more and more and more, till it looks like a huge egg, and then that's baked in an oven. The wax comes out, the molten bronze gets poured in, and then they smash it apart with sledgehammers.
Well, that's exceptional, and I
thank
congratulate
you. And I'm such a big fan.
Oh, nice of you to say that.
Well, as Moses has shown us on his exclusive tour, the restoration work has been extensive here at St. Michael's Cathedral, from the roof and ceiling to a new balcony section and beautiful stained glass artwork. But one of the biggest improvements has been the creation of a crypt chapel beneath the church.
Originally, the plan was we needed bathrooms in the cathedral because we only had one bathroom to kind of accommodate 1,200 people that would come to Mass every week. And so as we started to look at how do we put in washrooms, which sounds very simple, but in a historic structure, we started to look at where can we put them. We put them in the basement. If we put them in the basement, then we've got concerns about the construction down there, because we have really only a crawl space up until this point. So we built an extended basement, a higher basement, but we also had to be conscious of the fact that there are more than 60 people that were buried underneath the cathedral, including Bishop Michael Power, the first Bishop of Toronto. So it sounds kind of funny when you say it started with bathrooms, but that was the initial intent. But then it was a need to say, okay, this is a 150-year-old structure that needs some upkeep, needs some restoration work. And so once you start, like your own home, looking behind walls and looking behind the nooks and crannies, you see there's a whole lot more that needs to be done. We want to make it a safe and sound structure for the next 100 years, and so that was part of the intent going into this. But interestingly enough, it sort of started with bathrooms.
Right now we're standing 5 to 10 feet underground from what existed before. Over at the far side is the entranceway where excavators spent weeks taking out buckets of dirt to create this space that will one day be a chapel that will hold 350 people at a time to celebrate Mass. This is one of the crypts for people who were buried under the cathedral previously. In total, 67 people were buried under the cathedral over time. 3 of the people who were buried here were previous archbishops of the Archdiocese of Toronto, including the first Archbishop, Archbishop Power. His actually crypt is under wood right now. You can see it in the center. His resting place is directly underneath the altar of the cathedral above.
The whole engineering aspect of it, as an engineer, to see what they've done here and how the way they've gone about it is absolutely amazing.
The cathedral will be open briefly for the Easter holidays, with a completion date set for September of this year. Here in Toronto, I'm Darren Maharaj for ZNews.